It all starts with this girl Mitsuha. She lives way out in the Japanese countryside, in a small town. The movie opens with her waking up, feeling like she's just had the most vivid, profound dream. But for the life of her, she can't remember what it was about. She gets up, and there's her little sister Yatsua, and their strict, traditional granny. Mitsuha's family situation is a bit sad. Her mother passed away, and her father left them to go into politics. He used to be the temple priest, but now he's focused on becoming the town's mayor. At breakfast, they're watching TV, and there's this news flash about a celestial event. A comet, they call it Tiamat or Dunkatu, is going to be visible. The anchors are hyping it up, saying this is a once in 1,200 years event. But then comes the chill. They warn that a fragment of the comet might actually fall and destroy the area. Mitsuha goes to school, and things are weird. She finds a note in her notebook. "Who are you?" She's daydreaming, and when her teacher calls on her, Mitsuha looks so lost that the teacher actually makes a sarcastic comment about her at least knowing her own name. Her friends catch up with her and tease her. They say yesterday she was acting totally crazy, she'd forgotten her name, and she even came to school with her hair down, which was totally out of character. Mitsuha just shrugs it off, saying she has no memory of it. It must have been like a dream. Later that night, Mitsuha and her sister perform a very old ceremonial dance for their grandmother at the temple. It involves this custom called kuchikamizake, chewing rice and spitting it into a container to ferment it into a sacred sake, alcohol. It's a deeply meaningful ritual, but her friends see her doing it and burst out laughing. Mitsuha is mortified. She's bored with her small town, her traditional life, and the gossip. It all gets to her, and she stands on a hill, screaming up at the sky, crying out in frustration. She yells, "I hate this town! In my next life, make me a handsome Tokyo boy!" That night, she falls asleep, utterly miserable. The next morning, she wakes up, and she's a boy. She's in a strange room in a bustling city. She's completely shocked and freaked out, but then she starts to think, wait, is this that dream? She goes to school, where she doesn't recognize anyone, but the boy's friends know him. They all hang out at a cafe, and Mitsuha, in the boy's body, is absolutely loving the exciting Tokyo life she wished for. But then, a message pops up. She's late for her part-time job. She panics, having no idea where she works, so she has to ask the boy's friends, who are naturally baffled. Mitsuha, as the boy, goes to the job. It's a fancy Italian restaurant, and she totally messes up everything, but she's having a blast. When she gets home, she's worried she'll forget it all, so right before sleeping, she writes her own name, Mitsuha, on the boy's hand. When she wakes up, she's back in her own bed, in her own body. She's Mitsuha again. Meanwhile, the boy whose name is Taki wakes up in his Tokyo room, completely confused about the day before. It turns out that they've been switching bodies. Mitsuha wakes up in Taki's body in Tokyo, and Taki wakes up in Mitsuha's body in the village. This keeps happening intermittently. As time goes on, the people around them notice something is up. Mitsuha's friends in the village tell Taki in Mitsuha's body, "Yesterday, you were so different." And Taki's friends in Tokyo tell Mitsuha, in Taki's body, "You're acting so strange today." They realize they need to communicate. So, they start leaving messages for each other, in a notebook, on the boy's phone, even writing on each other's bodies, to explain what they did, what they ate, and how they handled the other's life. It's really cute and funny. Time passes, and the day of the comet's close approach arrives. Mitsuha, in her final message to Taki, tells him that she has fixed him up on a date with his coworker, a girl he has a crush on. It's bittersweet, because by now, Mitsuha has started to fall for Taki. Taki goes on the date, but it's awkward. The coworker notices he's distracted and distant, saying, "You seem like you're thinking about someone else." Taki feels something is wrong and rushes back. He checks his phone for a message from Mitsuha, but there's nothing. He tries to call her, but her number is out of reach. He looks up at the sky, expecting to see the comet, but it's not there. Meanwhile, Mitsuha is in her village, and she watches the comet streak across the sky. She sees it split into two pieces. Taki is distressed. The switches stop. Mitsuha never comes back. He misses her terribly and is determined to find her village, even though he can't remember its name. He starts sketching from memory, drawing the temple, the school, the surrounding hills. He makes a map based purely on his memories of being her. He takes his friend and they go on a journey, trying to match his drawings to the real world, but they can't find anything that looks like her town. Exhausted, they stop at a restaurant. Taki shows a sketch to the chef. The chef looks at the drawing and says, "Wait, that's where I grew up." It's called Itomori. Taki is relieved, but the chef's next words are a punch to the gut. Itomori was destroyed 3 years ago by a fragment of a comet. Everyone died. Taki rushes to the site. The beautiful town is gone, replaced by a massive crater lake. He's confused and in denial. He researches the disaster and looks at the list of the deceased. And there it is, Mitsuha Miyamizu, victim of the Comet Strike 2013. Then, his phone does something terrifying. All the logs and messages Mitsuha had left for him on his phone suddenly disappear. Taki realizes the truth. He has been switching bodies with a girl who lived 3 years in the past. He feels like it was all just a dream, a coping mechanism. But then his friend points to the braided cord Taki wears on his wrist and asks about it. Taki remembers a hazy scene from 3 years ago. He was on a train when a girl, Mitsuha, suddenly walked up to him and handed him the braid. He didn't know her, but he's worn it ever since, thinking it was a lucky charm. It was Mitsuha from 2013 who had traveled to Tokyo to find him, the boy who would sometimes inhabit her body. Determined, Taki goes back to the crater lake. He finds the temple shrine where he, in Mitsuha's body, made the sacred sake. He remembers the granny's words about the liquid being a form of connection across time. He finds the jar of kuchikamizake, opens it, and drinks it. He falls into a trance, and a flood of Mitsuha's memories washes over him. Her childhood, her mother, her pain, and even the moment she was sad after setting him up on the date. He realizes this is his chance to restore everything. He begs for one more chance, and then he wakes up. In Mitsuha's body, on the morning the comet is going to strike. Taki, in Mitsuha's body, races to her house. He tries to convince the grandmother to evacuate the town, but the granny sees his desperate look and simply says, "Oh, it's you again! My daughter used to have these dreams too." She understands that a different soul is inhabiting Mitsuha. Taki realizes he has to act fast. He knows Mitsuha must be in his body. Back in 2016, he decides to go to the mountaintop shrine. Meanwhile, Mitsuha, now in Taki's body, sees the disaster site, the massive crater lake, and she understands what Taki now knows. The tragedy has already happened. Taki runs to the top of the mountain. It's dusk, Kataware-doki in Japanese, a time when the boundary between worlds becomes blurred. As the sun sets, a miracle happens. They can see each other. Taki in Mitsuha's body and Mitsuha in Taki's body, standing in the same place, 3 years apart. Taki unties the braid from his wrist and hands it to Mitsuha, saying, "I didn't know you then, but I know you now." They are so happy, but they know this moment is fragile. As the dusk ends, Taki says, "We need to write our names on each other's hands so we don't forget." Taki writes his name on her palm, but before Mitsuha can write her name, they start to fade and disappear. Taki, desperate, manages to write something on her hand before he's completely gone. Mitsuha is back in her own body, on the hill, watching the comet split. She runs, determined to save her town, but she already feels her memory of Taki fading. She looks at her hand to see his name, but Taki hadn't written his name. He had written something else. "I love you." That simple emotional message gives her the strength she needs. She runs to her father, the mayor. She manages to convince him and her sister to help her carry out an emergency evacuation plan. He's hesitant until he looks up and sees the comet fragment hurtling towards the town. They succeed. The village is destroyed, but everyone is taken to a nearby school and saved. Time jumps forward. Taki is back in Tokyo years later. He has forgotten everything. He only has a vague feeling of loss, like he's searching for someone important. Mitsuha, too, has moved to Tokyo with her family. She's also searching, feeling an inexplicable hole in her life. One day, they are on separate commuter trains that pass each other. They catch a glimpse of the other and are instantly pulled toward each familiar face. They both get off their trains and start running, desperately searching the streets. Finally, on a staircase, they cross paths. They walk right past each other, but the feeling is too strong. Taki stops, takes a breath, and turns around. He asks her, trembling, "Have we met before?" Mitsuha, with tears welling up in her eyes, replies, I think so. They both start to cry and smile, and then, together, they ask the question they have waited years to ask. What is your name? And that's where the movie ends, with the promise that they finally found their way back to each other.